film history was made tonight at Ball State, and it's probably not what you think. Good evening and welcome to NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Stacey Russell.
And I'm Jared Hall. A controversial documentary filmed at Muncie South High School more than 20 years ago was shown for the first time in Muncie. Jason Luzdak is at the news desk with more. Jason?
Well, it was a long time coming, but tonight marked the first time the controversial documentary 17 was shown to a public audience in Muncie. The documentary is based on the senior year of a high school student at Muncie South High School. The film was to be aired on PBS in 1982, but after the film was shown to school officials, they wanted to make cuts to scenes that depicted the students using drugs, underage drinking, and showed the school in a less than flattering manner. Although the film was not shown, it was not banned as many believed. Provost Warren Vanderhill was part of the project and explains the misconception.
To make the cuts, and so Mr. Davis is the one who pulled the film.
Okay.
So the film was not banned, as is often the legendary mythological background of this, by PBS or by the Muncie School Board or by anybody else.
The documentary played to a standing room only crowd tonight in the Arts and Journalism building. The film was shown as part of CCIM week. Although the film has not been shown to a national audience, it has been shown to other audiences. Well, it took 20 years, but
since the 1980s, but more importantly, it's been shown all over the world at major film festivals in London, Scotland, Toronto, the Netherlands, to name a few, and then it...
But this controversial documentary was finally shown to a public Muncie audience. Stacey, I saw you at the film. What did you think about it?
Well, I had to leave a little early to get back here, but I thought it was hilarious in the beginning, a lot funnier than I thought controversial.
I know. I loved the home economics teacher.
She was great.
She was
great.
classic.
Thanks so much.
I guess I'm going to have to go check this film.
You should. It's a good one. Fire investigators say they have found no evidence indicating arson in Friday night's fatal fire in Muncie. 94-year-old Emma Morris died in that fire. According to the most recent... Sorry, we're having technical difficulties for just one moment here. According to the most recent reports from the Muncie Star-Press, her granddaughter, 43-year-old Jonda Morris, is in critical condition at Ball Memorial Hospital. The Delaware County coroner says pre-existing conditions lended to the grandmother's death. In their search for a cause, investigators say they're checking into an ongoing dispute between family members over who owned the home. Police records show officers have responded to that house 22 times in the past year.
Well, Muncie City Council delayed action this week to eliminate a 5-day restriction on parking along city streets. Building Commissioner Glenn Scroggins warned city lawmakers they could be making a big mistake by allowing unlimited parking on streets that have no other restrictions. And you know what? I guess the weather really hasn't had much restrictions lately. The rain just keeps coming down. Nicholas, how long is this going to be here?
What a day. So nice this morning.
It was.
We were all in our spring coats. We were ready for a great day.
I didn't even have an umbrella.
This rain just snuck up on us, but...
You're never prepared, though.
Let's look at our first forecast tonight. That rain will continue through tonight, although stopping later on, a low of 30 degrees.
Okay, well,
sounds like it might get a little
I'm just
better.
tired of the rain. Hopefully it'll go away soon. All right, thanks a lot, Nicholas. Well, international law's influence on American policy was on the front line tonight at IU School of Law. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor headlined the lecture. She says education about the subject is crucial. O'Connor pointed out that the Supreme Court has largely stayed away from the interplay between the 2 points, but says that caution may have to end soon due to increased usage of international law in American litigation. The University of Michigan is the first school to build the studies into its curriculum.
Murder victims' family members can now be heard in court. Today, Governor Frank O'Bannon signed legislation giving murder victims' families the right to speak in the courtroom. The new law guarantees that someone from a victim's family can make a statement to the court and the convicted murderer after a judge has announced the sentence. Current law does not give victims' families the right to speak at sentencings.
This year's wild turkey hunting season may be a good one, according to state biologists. They say turkey hunters could take a record number this year, up to 12,000 of the gobblers. One of the main reasons, the spring's hunting range includes 90 counties instead of the normal 74. Hunters will also see a change in hunting hours. It's now 1/2 hour before sunrise to sunset, and hunting season begins April 24th.
Money from the sales of student handbooks has been reallocated to help students with financial need. You can find out more about this story in tomorrow's Ball State Daily News and read about the College of Communications, Information, and Media's Student Soapbox for students and faculty to speak their minds. All this and more in tomorrow's Ball State Daily News. Well, still to come on NewsCenter at 9:30, sunshine turned to rain today for Muncie. Does tomorrow's forecast hold more April showers? Nicholas Ferrari will be in with a look at the latest forecast.
And more violence in the Middle East today as Israeli troops continue to advance on Palestinian troops. The latest coming up next on NewsCenter at 9:30. Israeli forces are expanding their military assault in the West Bank today, and with deadly results. 12 Palestinians were killed in battles with Israeli forces. The highest casualties were in Bethlehem, near the Church of the Nativity, considered the birthplace of Jesus. Michael Holmes has the latest from Ramallah.
Sounds of gunfire and tank shells coming from the direction of the Palestinian Preventive Security Headquarters in Ramallah. At dawn, helicopters fire at the compound. Israel says there was return fire from inside. We drove to the headquarters through mist and rain. At one point, an Israeli soldier stopping our journey.
We want to film that.
Another route, and we found ourselves at the compound. The sounds of battle last night told us that this was a ferocious assault. Daylight proved that correct. Inside here the previous night, perhaps 300 people, Palestinian prisoners, security forces, also civilian workers and, claim Palestinian officials, some children of those workers in a daycare centre. Sources tell us a deal brokered by the CIA saw the firing stop and those inside allowed to leave, taken to an Israeli military facility in the West Bank for processing and questioning. What was a significant Palestinian facility rendered all but useless, and it was empty. Israel says those not on their wanted list will be released, including Palestinian security officers. Israel also says perhaps dozens of wanted terrorists were inside this place. Palestinian officials say there were prisoners here, but the compound, after all, includes a prison. Those officials said many of the prisoners who were here were arrested at the request of Israeli and American security officials. But one senior Palestinian source we spoke with acknowledged there were prisoners on Israel's wanted list inside the compound, prisoners who hadn't been handed over. In any event, after those here, including casualties, had left with Israeli troops, what was left behind was the smouldering office of the Preventive Security Chief Jabril Rajoub, administrative officers bearing the scars of tank shells and rockets. This building housed the prison and a hospital. At the Ramallah hospital, a mile away, a welcome sight, a United Nations humanitarian convoy, the UN negotiating with Israel to travel here from Jerusalem with badly needed blood and medical supplies. Across the road, in a car park, a makeshift grave is dug. The reason is simple. The morgue is full. 2 bodies on trays built for one. Perhaps 27 people here, some on the floor. There was simply no more room. For tens of thousands of Palestinians cooped up in their homes for nearly 5 days, some relief. An announcement that the curfew had been lifted for 2.5 hours. What Israel called a humanitarian gesture to allow people to get food, water, milk. Those we spoke with said they needed it.
All the way. We have nothing. I mean, no milk, no bread. This is the most important thing for us, is because we have kids in the houses. No milk, no bread, no eggs, nothing to eat. The electricity was down for at least a couple of days. The water has been off for 3 days, so it's very hard.
You've had no water?
No water for 3 days.
And milk.
Milk.
For children.
For the children.
For children.
Okay.
Yes.
Shukran.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Before dusk, the curfew reimposed. Warning shots from armoured vehicles sending people back to their homes for another night behind closed doors. Michael Holmes, CNN Ramallah.
Lots of developments there and new warnings tonight for Americans with travel plans to the Mideast. The State Department has cautioned Americans visiting Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Dependents of American diplomats are also encouraged to leave Jerusalem.
President Bush was in Pennsylvania today promoting his new education plan. Bush wants the Department of Health and Sciences to start training all teachers to use the Head Start program. Nearly 50,000 teachers are already participating in the federally run program. Bush is also willing to increase spending for research in teaching kids to read sooner and the overall coordination between K through 12th grade education. Bush was also fundraising to help Pennsylvania's Attorney General Mike Fisher raise money for the Republican campaign.
Jury selection has begun in the trial of Kennedy family cousin Michael Skakel. Skakel is accused of killing a neighbor girl more than 25 years ago. Martha Moxley was beaten to death with a golf club in their Greenwich neighborhood in 1975. Both Skakel and the victim were 15 years old. Today, the first group of potential jurors arrived at a Connecticut courthouse. The defense says they hope to do more than just create reasonable doubt in the jury's mind. They want the jury to feel that Michael Skakel is truly innocent.
3 fishermen are still missing as Coast Guard officials continue to search Lake Michigan. A 16-foot white boat left Hammond Harbor Saturday carrying 2 brothers along with their cousin. According to authorities, the Coast Guard, the Chicago Fire Department, and the Lake County, Indiana Sheriff's Department all have been using helicopters to search the lower half of the lake since the boat was reported missing. The Civil Air Patrol and Canadian aircraft are also assisting in the search. Well, we're on a search for some good weather. What have you got for us?
That's right. Well, they say April showers do bring May flowers, but how much longer will these showers last? We'll find out coming up next in our full forecast.
You know, we want a good answer on that.
I'll see what I can do for you.
All right. Thanks, Nicholas.
Stay tuned.
Good evening, everybody. What do you say we open up our weather almanac for tonight? Tuesday, April 2nd, 2002, and what a beautiful day it started out to be. Our high got up to 67 degrees, 12 degrees higher than our normal of 55. Our low was 48 degrees above 36, our normal. Sun rose this morning at 6:24 and set at 7:07. Now, what you've all been waiting for, today's weather quote of the day, and very appropriate for today. A wise man carries his cloak in fair weather, and a fool wants his in the rain. An old Scottish proverb for you. The lesson, like today, the sun might be shining in the morning, but you never know when that weather will change. And look at the highs across the state of Indiana today. Here in Muncie, we saw 66 degrees. Up in Fort Wayne, the temperature was 59. Evansville was the hot spot of the state with 75 degrees. But look up in South Bend. That tells a story in itself. 46 degrees. The cold front that will be headed our way was up in South Bend today. Currently outside, we have light rain, a temperature of 43 degrees, and humidity is at 96%. Winds out of the northwest at 17 miles per hour. Pretty strong out there. And in this satellite picture, you can see this band of clouds that has already started to move through our area. And also take a look at Florida here. Florida, parts of it, including Jacksonville, saw some severe storms today. And let's take a look at the radar. We can get a better look at those storms. But first, let's look at Indiana. Here is that light band of storms which is moving through, and as you see, will be out of our area later in the evening. Nationally, you can see those storms just starting down in Florida. And here is that band which we've been talking about. You can't see any storms here down in the Arkansas area, but severe storms are possible. And up there in parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota, snow tonight. They've already received a lot today. For tomorrow, you see this trough of high pressure and cold air move into our area. And right here is the precipitation that is moving eastward tonight. Tonight, our lows will be down in the 30s, but take a look as this very cold Canadian air moves down. 20s into parts of Oklahoma, single digits up in Montana. For tomorrow, our highs will be in the 40s, so not as warm as today, certainly. That cold air really moves in. And for tomorrow night, that system moves on to the east, but the high pressure still dominates our area. Tonight, the rain continues, tapering off later on. Low of 33 degrees, winds northwest at 15 miles per hour. For tomorrow morning, as you wake up, mostly cloudy skies, a temperature of 35 degrees, chillier than yesterday. Today, I'm already moving ahead, boy. Winds northwest at 12 for tomorrow morning. For tomorrow, we'll get up to 43 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, winds out of the north at 10 miles per hour. And in our 3-day outlook, no storms in the next few days. Clouds and temperatures in the 40s dominate, and if we're lucky, we could get up to 55 degrees on Saturday. So let's cross our fingers for
Hey,
that.
I'll take it.
As
I noticed
long as it
that
doesn't
said
snow
Ferrari
again.
forecast. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did. It's
55,
like that
I'll
every
take
week.
it. That's not bad at all.
Well, I'm
take
glad
it.
you like it, Jared. I aim to please.
Thanks.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Thanks, Nicholas.
Thanks. Well, the Hoosiers are back home tonight, and without the win, I guess it's nice to be where they were anyway.
And you're right. Everybody's still talking about that game. The fans were acting up yesterday. We're going to talk about that. And it's day 2, game 2 in the baseball season. It's a long season, but it's exciting. It's early on. Stick around. Sports is next.
They were just one game away from being champs. What a run it was for the Hoosiers. The team returned to Bloomington earlier today to an ovation from fans who had gathered at Assembly Hall. The Hoosiers were the first team with 10 losses to reach the title game since 1988.
At the same time, I think we brought back the IU tradition to where it's supposed to be.
Things weren't so pleasant in Bloomington last night, however, after the disappointing loss. There were 40 people injured. Police made several arrests. This was after students began rioting on the IU campus after the game. NewsCenter's Tom Kozrowski was in the middle of yesterday's melee and reports.
It began as a celebration at Assembly Hall with IU in the national championship game for the first time in 15 years as the Hoosier faithful gathered in elation to watch their team together. But as it became increasingly clear the Hoosiers would fall short of their 6th national title, the campus's joy soon turned to anger. The party poured out onto Kirkwood Avenue following the game. Police patrolled the area from the rooftops and streets as students began letting out their frustrations, setting pillars on fire, overturning garbage cans, and vandalizing storefronts. As students lit fires that raged out of control, police moved in to break up the rioting crowd. After police fired tear gas into the rioting crowd, chaos ensued. Many students found themselves running for cover, finding refuge inside this La Bamba's restaurant.
The cops came in, they throw a tear gas thing in here. There's nothing going on in here. The cops come in here and they throw a tear gas in here, and everybody starts coughing. I look back, and everybody's sneezing and coughing and stuff. Everybody starts running out the back door. There were 100 people in here. Cleared them all out in 20 seconds. What did they just throw? Did they throw a grenade in here? They threw a tear gas grenade in here? What did they do? They were right over by the window. Right over by the window.
40 students and police officers were injured following the tear gas incident that ended the riot at IU, which lasted nearly an hour and a half. Reporting from Kirkwood Avenue on the campus of Indiana University, I'm Tom Kozrowski, NewsCenter 43 Sports.
NewsCenter 43 tried to contact Bloomington police authorities and they declined comment. Police Captain Mike Dykoff, however, did tell the Indianapolis Star this, quote, "When students started getting pelted with bottles, that's when we decided to move and disperse the crowd. If the crowd hadn't started throwing beer bottles and setting fires, we wouldn't have had to act," end quote. It's been quite a week for former Ball State women's basketball coach Brenda Oldfield. Think about this. Oldfield was named AP Coach of the Year this past week, and then today was hired as the new head coach at Maryland. In her first season at Ball State 2 years ago, she led the Cardinals to a school record in victories and was named MAC Coach of the Year. Oldfield's contract at Maryland is for 6 years, and she will make $275,000 a season. And it must be nice, now getting into some baseball, to be 40 years old and still considered in your prime. Barry Bonds is who we're talking about. Bonds had 73 homers last season, and he hit 2 today in his first game. Bonds is in a zone. This is his second at bat. He already had 1. Now make it 2. 73 homers, like I said a season ago. Let the stories begin already. He's on pace to hit 334. And also tonight, the Pacers were looking to hang on to the final playoff spot in the East. Took on a tough Boston team. They were ahead 11 going into the fourth and lose by 11. So a bad fourth quarter for the Pacers.
Well, I guess they can
You win,
complain,
you
but Brenda
lose.
Oldfield can't.
Oh, wow.
It's a nice gig for her.
A nice
She's just
contract. She's a great young coach. 31 years old already, her third job, and she just keeps moving up.
Yeah, best of
Good
luck to
for
her.
her.
All right, thanks a lot, Todd.
Well, coming up on NewsCenter at 9:30, we will again need our umbrellas tomorrow. Nicholas Ferrari will have the final answer.
Plus, some soldiers on the USS Roosevelt had a more than exciting return home. That story coming up.
She brightens the whole room up. She'll make everyone smile.
Recapping our weather for tonight. Rain outside, tapering off as the night goes on, and we'll see a low of 33 degrees. Winds pretty strong out of the northwest at 15 miles per hour. As we head into tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy skies. The temperature will be 35 degrees. Winds northwest at 12 miles per hour. And for tomorrow, we'll only get up to 43, below normal for this time of year. Mostly cloudy skies. And in our 3-day outlook, temperatures in the 40s for Thursday and Friday, increasing by Saturday, 55. Spring will make a comeback as soon as this cold front gets out of our way.
All right, looking forward to that.
Thanks, Nicholas. Spending 6 months fighting the war against terrorism can make a sailor anxious to get home, and so can tying the knot. Sailors aboard the USS Roosevelt are back at home, and some have bigger plans than others. One couple got engaged just 2 days before the September 11th and thought the war might postpone their plans to tie the knot. Luckily, Petty Officer Paul Leslie made it home in just in time to sail into holy matrimony. He was married just after arriving home.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice story.
And that's nice. It's the end of our newscast. So thanks for joining us for NewsCenter at 9:30. I'm Jared Hall.
And I'm Stacey Russell. NewsCenter 43 is an official CNN Student Bureau. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for NewsCenter at 5:30.
Have a good night.